Morning. So my story is going to be story of 5 P's. First one, the purpose, the very purpose. Second P, purity of intent. Third P is the perseverance. Fourth P, positivity. And finally, passion. When we started the journey, as what you see today, was something like this. A small, sleepy town, the population of around 12,000 people, arid zone, marshy land. And the actual story had nothing to do with ports. We started our journey thinking that we are going to establish one of the largest salt work. And why am I telling you this? Because I see a lot of young people, and they would be thinking that, when the large projects like this happen, there must be a great vision behind it, fantastic thinking process behind it. Many times it is not true. Things just start and then it just takes, as we call it, as destiny. The saltwork project that we had thought required 15,000 acres of land for creating 1 million ton of salt to make it commercially viable. So we identified Mundra, a place in India, a small little town, which had all the geographical and environmental conditions to put up that kind of salt work. We went, acquired 15,000 acres of land in 91. And the next month we realized that out of that 15,000 acres, 13,000 acres actually belong to forest. And 13,000 acres, because our data of the Revenue Department and Forest Department had no connection. So we had to give back that 13,000 acre land. And what we were left was just 2,000 acres. And this 2,000 acres was the Navinal Island, where originally we thought that we would harvest the salt, crystallize on this Navinal Island, and export it through a small jetty. So what was left was this 2,000 acre. Mr. Adani asked, what is it that we were supposed to do here now that we are left with? He said, this is where we are supposed to put up a jetty and then export. The real estate had to be built. Mr. Adani's vision was very clear that we now have to get into building infrastructure. There was no concept of big port. Creating, their entire port business did not exist. But something had to be done. You had to move forward. We will bring cargo from outside, he said. We'll actually bring salt from all over the place in Kutch, but we will build jetty, a captive jetty. We built that captive jetty. We started our journey. As they say, in around 1995, Gujarat government came out with the port policy and said that the government will now create 10 different locations in the coast of Gujarat, and we will have the coastal-led economy for state. We were already working in Mundra. They had a lot of data because we were there, and obviously Mundra came as one of the ports to be developed out of those 10 ports. This port was supposed to be developed with government in joint venture. We got in, 26% government, rest of Adani. And that's the time when we actually started realizing that we had the potential to become the port company. The reason for me to share little story is that the third P that I was talking about, which is perseverance. And that's the key. And that's the key for obviously doing everything. But when we talk about Surenbhai told me to speak on large infrastructure projects for the country, I thought, from the engineering perspective, certainly we will progress. But the entrepreneurial mindset and having that perseverance, as what Satyaki has said, to build the world-class infrastructure in the sector that we choose to be in is the key thing that we have to actually have, that spirit today. Sometimes I feel, as an average Indian, we lack it. And some of these examples actually start instilling and puts it into our DNA, which is really the actual necessity for the country to really become a developed country. That's where the story began. If you look at now, is the same asset, the same location, looks like this. Something having already 26 births from nothing. If you look at these numbers, I'll keep talking about it. What it means that it has given the opportunity from a sleepy town to become an urbanized place, whereby, to my surprise, there is a traffic jam in a place called Jarpara as part of Mundra. And that's something very good to see, where you see the overall development actually giving, can you imagine, in just the journey of last 20 years, to become India's #1 port, surpassing old ports like Kandla who have been there for years together. How is this going to look when we see 2050? Starting from nowhere, we are going to build 153 jetties in one single location. What does it mean? It means that it will eventually handle, in spite of Indian growth that we are talking about, 30% cargo of all India. And it only shows the power of imagination, power of grit, power of continuity. And once you decide, all the natural forces as well as the infrastructure forces, be it government or private, will start actually getting accumulated. That is what has happened in Mundra. When we started, there was no rail connectivity, there was no road connectivity, there was no water, there was no power. And all of us can imagine being in Gujarat, a Kutch zone which was the most backward zone. And today, it is one of the fastest growing area in Gujarat. The most important thing for the port sector is the connectivity, because the capacity of port is dependent on the cargo that you are receiving and the cargo that you are able to evacuate. And the evacuation for the port absolutely depends on the railway, even more than road. So when we went there, there was no railway line. The most important thing was to build that to the national network. The nearest railway line was in Adipur, near Gandhidham, which was almost 72 kilometers away. Now imagine, as a private sector player, to build railway line on our own, starting from acquiring the land, thousands of survey numbers of the private and the government that we had to acquire. With the acquisition, build those bridges in between, take hundreds of clearances from government and other local authorities, deal with the local agencies, local people, local NGOs, local mafias, if I may use it. This is what that one had to go through. And then to do this construction, completing in less than 2.5 years, to connect to port, because if that was not there, commercially we would have been dead. So many times we say that, and we shift the responsibility, typically in infrastructure projects, to the government, that this is what they are supposed to do. And what we have seen as part of the group and the DNA that got into the group by Mr. Adani, that you do not worry about what government is supposed to do. Start taking charge on your own. Whatever is required to make it successful, you believe it's your responsibility. And this is a classic example, could be probably in Indian infrastructure, surely, but if you look at it internationally, to build 72 kilometers of line, starting from absolute scratch of land acquisition to complete and commission in 2 years, must be some kind of world record. Because it was the necessity for our survival. It's not something that it was really probably, we when we got into it, realized. But as we realized that, how am I going to survive? It's actually, we gave us the very different and innovative way of working over there, whereby everything was going parallel. So someday, actually, the discussion should happen in a smaller group, I would say, which would make it very interesting to say how to really do infrastructure project and make it happen for those who are interested. And that would be lovely, actually. Because there is a very different way to deal in Indian context to make projects successful than typically what you would have read in your books. So that experience and that sharing of experience would be great. Some of the important milestones, just want to share. Why am I showing this? We actually created 3 different phases. But the reason of listing out is that not only these are the requirements, but important thing is that one has to do it simultaneously. While we start the journey of doing it, first multipurpose jetty, because at that time you don't know, you are absolutely not sure of what cargo is going to come. You start with the flexibility in design, which is multipurpose terminal. Because today, when you see fully developed port, you would say the most efficient would be a very specialized cargo terminal, which is for particular cargo or a container or liquid. But when you begin, again, it's something that I'm wanting to convey. Flexibility brings inefficiency, but flexibility gives you hope to survive. And this is something very critical, again, in infrastructure, whereby if you try to create a very specialized facility, but not having sufficient cargo or customers, there are chances that probably it will die early. Important thing is to, when you plan and when you design, to begin with, when you're sure of, build flexibility as part of planning. And multipurpose terminal that we started had capacity to do bulk, container, everything. But as we grew, as you can see, we started specializing, be it different commodities, especially, say, coal, container, liquid. As we got into more and more cargo, where actually the investment justifies this specialized facility, and that's why I'm a little bit harping on this, that be it probably in architectural designs into infrastructure projects, think of how to make it commercially viable, bankable, to make sure that it does not really see early death. And this is a very important thing that we have experienced in port sector. So first phase, as I said, we had multipurpose berths, railway connectivity, container terminal, and very, very important thing I want to mention is SPM, single point mooring. SPM, I'll come to SPM, just want to show a few pictures that you can see of multipurpose berth, railway connectivity, liquid storage tanks. These are all essential ingredients for any commercial port. You begin with something, but then you'll have to build more and more facilities whereby you are not refusing a single customer. Eventually, the port's success depends on your ability to handle different types of cargo. And today, Mundra, we are very happy and proud that there is not a single type of cargo that cannot be handled at Mundra. Classically, SPM means a large facility in middle of the sea, which is handling VLCC, very large crude carrier, which have less facilities actually available in India. And we were one of the first one in private sector to set up that facility. So when you see overall, the port right in the first phase had the capability of handling all bulk cargoes, all types of project cargoes, all types of container cargoes in one single location. These are few pictures that you can see that as we grew, we kept on expanding not only our terminals in multipurpose side, but also on the container side, also on the liquid side, be it on the marine side as well as on the land side, be it the warehousing for the liquid or for the bulk, or the entire port backup facility for the containers. Some of the learnings that I want to share. When we built first multipurpose terminal, originally it was supposed to be the hollow precast piles. In the marine environment, after doing the extensive investigations of soil and a company like L&T, we decided on a particular construction methodology. These were concrete hollow pre-stressed piles. When we started driving those piles, some of the locations we realized that the soil was very stiff and we were not able to really drive the piles. The entire engineering had to be redone. We had to change from the concrete piles to steel piles in the middle of the project. L&T had to change the entire construction methodology. We lost out on 6 to 8 months. We brought in a separate, very specialized barge to drive the steel piles in the middle of the sea. Large infrastructure projects will face a lot of difficulties. It's again the perseverance, finding the solutions, looking at the conditions at that point of time, changing your way of looking at things, rather than at that point of time blaming the stakeholders. Find the solution, go ahead with it. We lost out on 6 to 8 months, finally changed it to the steel piles, finished the project in 1998. Loss of 8 months definitely was extremely costly for us at that point of time. We were in initial phase. But I remember one of the meetings when L&T, at that point of time, when they put the claim because of the delays of the project, and the contract was EPC, so it was not our responsibility. As the project director, I refused to pay. Finally, they approached Gautam Bhai and said, contractually, your company is right, but because of what has happened, we have lost substantial amount. And I was very firm that there is no need to pay. The meeting happened. Gautam Bhai was in the meeting, understood the issue. He not only told me to pay, he told me to pay the interest on the delay that I had caused to L&T for the payment. And I was shocked. The team was shocked. The only thing that he said in 98, that one day we are going to be a very large infrastructure company. And you cannot become what you want to become without stakeholders with you for a long time. This was 1998. Both of us, Mr. Adani and myself, we were in our early 30s. The ability for the entrepreneurs or whoever is dealing with the situation to see long term and create that stakeholder environment and to make sure that a small loss at that point of time, what it can really cause is something for the youngsters to really understand and learn and imbibe at the early stages of life. Once these elements are part of you, it will take you a long way. We also built, we were very courageous. We also built, today the contractors do not have, but we as a client have our jack-up barges, which are used in the marine construction. These examples I am sharing is because the mindsets have to be open. The contractors typically would look at their commercial viability. But the large infra players, they are not contractors, they are the developers, will have to support their contractors, which they are not going to invest. You create those equipments, you create that infrastructure, which is going to substantially support your contractors to take the risk and create that ability within them to be able to deliver those projects time and again. So these are some of the learnings that we had, and we had the organization culture to support. As I'll just quickly show you, same thing happened actually in dredging as well. The journey continued. Right up to 2005, we kept on building. Some example that I want to show you. We did dredging in Mundra. By volume, it is 300 million cubic meter. If you look at on top, all of us know what Palm Jumeirah, all of us know about it. That what picture that you see has 94 million cubic meter, and Mundra has done 300 plus million cubic meter as on date. Nobody knows about it. This is what Indian company, local company with own dredgers. Till this, we started this journey, it was all foreign companies, typically European companies had the monopoly in dredging. They would charge 10x of what actual the cost would be. When we realized this, we said, why can't we have, and people laughed at us, that you're talking about being a dredging company, you're doing dredging yourself? Do you understand? It's a monopoly. We bought one cutter suction dredger. We continued our journey. Today, we have more than 20 capital dredgers. We have highest capacity to dredge in this country, including government companies. And that's why all the projects that we are building, we do it ourselves at probably 1/3 cost and in the fastest speed because we control the entire activity. Ports cannot be without dredging and reclamation. What is the message? The essential ingredient that is required for large infrastructure must be controlled by the developer and contractor themselves rather than depending on outsiders. If you want to finish why people say that in Adani, the projects are done, they have really mastered the project execution, they take the risk. Why do they say? It's nothing else. It's because we control the ingredients that is required to deliver those projects. This is SPM. No private sector company till date had done SPM on their own. It requires submarine pipelines. You have a floating, as you see the equipment, which is 10 kilometers away. You make sure, and a drop of oil coming out of it, you have finished the project because environmentally nobody will allow you. So to execute those projects was not easy. To save money, there is one more thing I want to share. To save money, we went to the extent of buying steel, bending them, putting concrete pipelines separately, bringing the laying bars from outside, put cathodic protection to make sure that corrosion does not happen as a separate. While people would do it one single EPC contract, I had at that point of time 25 different subcontractors being managed by ourselves. And at that point of time to save 100 crore rupees. Point is, value for money, at that point of time, if you do not go in that mindset to say every penny that I save for my company is something that is going to be put into creating that infrastructure which is nothing but the assets for the nation. And that is what actually at every stage of life that has happened in Adani, whereby we keep engaging ourselves not only in new learning, but investing into different aspects of project execution, controlling every parameter. When we did that VLCC, we were very happy. Only to realize later on, now, that why we did not build the jetty itself, whereby we will have no limitation in terms of handling. These are some learnings. At one point of time in your life, you feel you have done a great job. But when you see the context later on, the technology improves and your confidence improves. From SPM, now we have built VLCC handling jetties, where the ships can large vessels can directly come on jetty. We don't need SPMs. These are the kind of, I wouldn't say mistakes, these are kind of progressive learning that one has to keep in mind. And I'm very happy to share the kind of troubles that we had or mistakes we did, because surely we want youngsters to believe in one simple thing: please do not stop. Then the second phase of development, I don't want to get into the detail. Airstrip got developed, RoRo facility, all container coal terminals, second railway line. It went on and on. We never stopped, and we continued our journey. The airstrip, the first airstrip that was created, obviously the financial guys were really after me, that why do we need it? The only thing I said, if you put the airstrip, and if Gautam Bhai starts coming faster, because otherwise he has to travel 6 hours, 7 hours, he will come probably once in 3 months. But even he starts coming once in a month, the project is going to be delivered early by 1 year. Your entire financing, what you're talking about airstrip, is gone. So facilitating stakeholders to really come in, be it consultant, contractors, things became so easy. And that's very important for infra projects, because they are at different level of sites of difficulty. This went on. These are some of the pictures that you can see. Very large development happened. RoRo terminal, I don't know how many of you are aware of it, but Mundra is the largest exporter of cars. Today, Maruti and all other automobile, they export their cars from Mundra. This is one interesting example I want to share. When we started developing the Westport, we started like the way we had earlier started, having one multi-purpose jetty. Just to realize, and I have Vinay Singhal who's sitting here, who was part of team. And probably he thought about it, that why are we doing jetty? Why can't we create entire basin? Rather than one jetty, two jetties, three jetties, we came up with the concept with the basin, because by then we had realized that we had beautiful material available in terms of quality of sand to reclaim. And if we do that, we were actually manufacturing land as port backup area, and along with that we were creating berths. And these were the learnings. Obviously, as I said, the first terminal when we built at that time, obviously we did not have the capacity, and we did not have the surety of cargo. But by the time this phase started, we knew that, as what Satyaki was saying, that in India, you build and it is going to be consumed. And we realized that at that point of time, that if we build infrastructure, cargo will follow. But that confidence was fantastic, as we saw. And then we created the entire basin through our own development. Then, of course, there was no stopping. I just don't want to bore you, just want to show you some of the pictures that how it really grew, including large liquid terminal, LPG, cryogenic tank terminal. There's some unbelievable. And then you see this pipe conveyors connecting to the manufacturing site. So every type of development happened in Mundra. Once, the infra seed is put, automatically it becomes the catalyst for everything else. Not only infra, but now Mundra has become the hub for manufacturing. Obviously, one has to move on. We have to transform ourselves from the traditional port way of working. Now Mundra is on its own way to become fully automated terminal. Earlier what you saw, that hundreds of people working in port. Now when you go to Mundra, you will see entire container terminal operated without a single man. And that's the transformation in nutshell that I'm saying that is going to happen. And as what we were mentioning, when you look at China, and I mean, it's just amazing. And I totally agree that there is no comparison, but let's strive for that. And that's exactly what Something Mundra is right now on that journey of. If you just quickly see the scenario, port scenario, some of the numbers that you'll be able to see, that it is just amazing that when we have 1,000 million ton cargo that India will handle, APSEZ as a sector would be handling 30% of the Indian cargo. And you look at some numbers, what we started our journey, where India was, when we started the journey, it was 200 million India, which is going to become 2,500 when we were at zero, and we will be at 1,000 million ton cargo handling. Today we are almost there at 500 million ton handling, as far as India is concerned. You look at the spread of Adani Port, the little story that began in Mundra is today we are all over India. As you can see across the entire coastline of India, our presence is there and beautifully connected with our Adani Logistics operations, where we own our train operations, our own train and entire logistics network. If you see overall infrastructure, these numbers are staggering. Just this is something for you to consume. I don't want to bore. But what it only says is that total capacity of terminal is 633 million, which is going to be very unique. But if you look, if I compare with China, China largest port would be, one port would be handling between 800 to 1,000 million tons. And today, and I think they have several of them, but today India hasn't even got one. And that's what we are striving, long way to go. Quickly to sum up, while we do what we do, I would request, especially the youngsters, that like everyone, you know, in a young age, every entrepreneur that you see today, you think of large stories, you know, of their success, but every one of you, it's very important to have fundamentals very clear. Some of the commandments that we should create, and what we saw in our life, in Mundra's life, in Adani's life, starting with vision, but important thing is hunger. Hunger for execution. Country requires execution. Implementation, and that hunger is most critical. People development, we don't focus. However, one or two or three people you have with you, working with you in your team as subordinates, focus on their training, on their development. System, processes, technology, the key for scaling up. Transparency in decision making. First is make decisions. You have to make decisions. You'll make mistakes, make decisions. But in transparency, where the people see you as a leader who's objective, who's very open and authentic. Meeting people halfway. We have a bigger issue in terms of egos. If this is something very simple thing that we learn, you come halfway, I come halfway, and solutions are always there. There is nothing that can't be solved. Remain informal. People think, that wearing shorts in the office is informality. Informality has to be here where there are no silos, right? So in terms of accessibility with your teams and being informal solves many problems. Learn to have the reality check. Don't believe even what you see. Go check it, follow it up, go down deeper. Very important. Data and AI, I don't need to talk about it. And most important, in my opinion, every person's journey, individual journey, is a personal journey. Personally, one has to evolve. Because when you are evolving, this is where you'll be able to contribute to the team. And as I said, finally, the fast 5 Ps that I started with, I would always conclude with that. Purpose, purity, perseverance, positive, and passion. And when you follow these 5 Ps, you finally get one last P, which is peace of mind. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Your talk brings clarity to the challenges and choices that define projects of this scale. We now invite our speakers on stage and open the session for questions from the audience.
We'll take questions one by one. Feel free to raise your hands if you have any questions. So, one.
Hello. Very good morning, sir. My question is with Dr. Malay, sir. सर पाइल ड्राइविंग में जो डिफ़िकल्टी आई थी आरसीसी होलो पाइप्स में, तो फिर उसको जो स्टील पाइप से रिप्लेस किया, तो मराइन एनवायरनमेंट में वो स्टील पाइप कैसे सस्टेनेबल रहे?
Whole world is on steel piles. India does concrete piles because it is cheaper. So when you do, we believe that when the steel pile is there, there is an issue of corrosion. That's what comes in our mind.
Yes.
But it is designed for 50 years, 100 years that you want to build. You decide the thickness of the steel, and you also decide in terms of what kind of paintings and the coatings that you are going to do, what kind of corrosion protections that you are going to do. In marine environment, today, most of the boats are built abroad on steel pile because there is no difference from cost point of view in those countries. Steel piles is much easier because you can drive it quickly, while in concrete piles, be it whether it is cast in situ or otherwise, it will definitely takes much more time. So there is absolutely no problem today in terms of having steel piles.
Okay. And my second question with the dredging, how we are handling the dredged material? Because I am working with the state government in water resource department, and what is the question is every year we are having a silt coming to the reservoir, and the capacity of the reservoir are reducing. So
Dredging, I got it. Your dredging, there are two types. One is capital dredging, another is maintenance dredging. So capital dredging is something whereby you have to make sure that whatever you are dredging, you are reclaiming. If the material is good, if you are lucky, God is kind to you, you will have the material which is reclaimable. If it is not, then you will have to go and find the place where you can dump. As far as the maintenance dredging is concerned, obviously you have to do it because at that point of time, the conditions are such whereby there is continuous silt. So then you have to have a maintenance dredger, which is different than a capital dredger. And that has a bucket which will keep on taking that material, and then you will identify the site where you can throw with the permissions of government. So what I was talking mainly was the capital dredging, and I was mentioning Mundra, whereby the material is so good that we didn't have to go and throw somewhere. We could pick up the material and actually dump right there, which gave us an advantage of reclaiming the land, which was required for the port backup area. So we are very lucky in Mundra.
I have a question for you, Malay.
Bimal asking question is...
It's a difficult question. No, the Gautam Bhai's story and you people's story is awe-inspiring. There's no question about that. What has been achieved is stunning. Who are the people you admire in India and globally for their achievements?
Good question. I don't have a problem in answering. So, when we become what we become, beyond 60, wisdom prevails. In early stage, you may have your role model as some actor. But as you grow, you realize what life is all about. So today, if you ask me simple, for me, my role model is APJ Abdul Kalam. In open meeting like this, you ask a question, my normal answer should be Gautam Bhai. So let me, and it's true, I mean, for all of us. As a personal, because you have to align, your role model has to be aligned with you, not something that you want to become, but something what you can become. Aspiration has to be to make the best version of your own self and actually exploit your full potential. It's like a manufacturing thing, एक rubber band है छोटा सा, that cannot aspire to become big one, टूटेगा. But flexibility in that rubber band exists, so you have to actually stretch yourself to the extent that you don't break. And that's why your role models have to be something that you aspire and something that you think you can achieve. Gautam Bhai is my role model in many, many things. First is perseverance. I haven't seen a man like him. Something that he takes it, he doesn't leave. If you say as a self, my role model is APJ Abdul Kalam. Starting from nowhere, his simplicity, his ability to connect to people, his ability to share, make a difference, and still remain. At the end of the day, when he left, he had nothing in his cupboard. Something, the life that I would wish I can live with the freedom of mind. So I have different role models for different aspects of life rather than having one. That's my answer.
Hello. My question is to Mr. Satyaki, sir. Sir, can you please help us to give the highlights on the economics of carbon credits?
Carbon credits?
Yes, sir.
No, I don't think I'm qualified to do that at this point.
Okay.
I'm not an expert at that. I
Okay.
can just tell you
Whatever
that,
highlights, can you just...
No, we don't have carbon credits per se, but I think, when we started off working on the airport project and over the course of the last 5 or 7 years, the idea was to make sure that the airport was powered by renewable energy. Not so much an issue of just carbon credits, but the idea was to try and see how we could use solar and wind, especially in a market like India where solar is so widely available, to use those sources of power rather than non-renewable sources. So we focused on that. So it's not so much an issue of, the kind of carbon credits that we're getting, but to use solar and to the extent possible and wind to some extent. So today, if you look at Bangalore Airport, 70 to 75% is powered by solar energy, with solar panels. And of that, about 50% is at the airport, captive at the airport. The rooftop of every building, including Terminal 2's roofs, or any building that you see at the airport that's flat and that can have a solar panel, has got solar panels. Across the airfield, at different points at the airport, etc., there is sort of solar panels in order to capture and harness that solar power. We've also got, off-site areas where we've got plants for solar and wind, which we generate and then sell to the grid and then take back. So I don't think I'm the expert to answer your carbon credit question. I'm not at all the expert at that. I studied architecture and then urban design and then did aviation. I can connect you to somebody who might be able to answer your question better, but I have absolutely no clue when you talk about carbon credits as to what the answer to that is.
A question for Satyaki. Satyaki, you have in your career been a consultant and then you've been a developer. And I've had conversations with Malay in the past when he used to sort of tell me, well, you're a consultant, we are developers, and we have different perspectives. You've lived both perspectives. Can you talk a little bit, for the sake of everyone, that, okay, looking at infrastructure from a developer's perspective and from a consultant's perspective, how is it different?
Oh, completely different, as Malay Bhai will also tell you. I think I spent the first 15 years of my career as a consultant, where I was a technical expert, right? So I would look at the technical aspects of a project, whether it was to do with the planning aspects or sort of the phasing capacity, looking at demand, looking at numbers and things like that. But at the end of the day, let's say Malay Bhai was a client, or Charu has been my client for many years, for instance, and we delivered a report. based on the needs of the client in terms of saying that here's a challenge, can you come and help us solve this challenge, right? And as consultants, using sort of the breadth of skills that we had, not just individually, but in an organization with so much experience, we delivered those solutions or ways of thinking about a project that you could then take forward. But I think the essential difference when I moved over to the other side was that now then you were responsible for having to deliver, implement, and make sure you did it to time, to budget, and with a certain quality. That as a consultant, while you can say that you intended to do it, but it's very different when you're the developer or the owner, because it's your money, it's your you've got skin in the game. And I think the sense of ownership, the sense of responsibility, the sense of fulfillment, and the sense of pride that you have when you have to do it because it's yours is completely different. So, I genuinely cherish the fact that I was a consultant for the first 15 years because from an experience perspective, from understanding some of the technical nuances and making sure that I knew what I was doing, it was very helpful. But the last decade where I've spent on the other side as sort of being part of the, the operator, the developer, has just been very rewarding in a very different way because I've had to actually be the client. So, then take what a consultant gives and then you've got to then make decisions, as he said. And you've got to be bold enough to say, yeah, we won't get everything right. But you've got to take the decision, you've got to stick with it, you've got to go ahead and you've got to deliver it and you've got to make it work. And I think that fulfillment that you get, that sort of satisfaction that you get is exceptionally, it's very different and it's a different scale altogether.
For me, consultant is as good or bad as client. So, I don't consider consultant as an outsider in true sense if I see the same response. If you want the success, all the three ingredients, client, contractor, consultants have to be together. So that does not happen, the project really then never works. So it's like saying that you have a pathologist, you have a radiologist, you have a physician, you have a surgeon. Somebody investigates, somebody creates the report, somebody diagnoses, somebody treats. So you cannot say that there is one guy more important than the other. But the problem in the system is that there is always some vested interest or inefficiency somewhere, and that's why that synchronization, the balance does not happen. If the client is open, clearly, in terms of, say, accepting in terms of both sides, then the combination works. And I think all are really required ingredients as part of recipe.
We'll take one question from you, and if one more question from any student, that'll be good.
Effective project management, it means efficiently managing time, cost, and resources. This question is to both of you, sir. How could you address this? Because I know Malavi, he has been strong in controlling the cost. So how do you manage all these resources, cost, and even when MSP and Primavera were not there?
The fact of life is that out of the time, cost, and quality, three elements of project, you only achieve two, never the third one. That's true, right? So be clear what you want. Okay. If you want cost, you are doing at the cost of something. So you decide whether you want speed or you want quality. Somewhere it will be there. And depending on your pocket, depending on situation, depending what you want to achieve, you decide. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. I'll give you a very small example, interesting one. When the first time when we were building in port warehouse, the warehouse design was, somebody said that you have to design on 1 in 50 or 100 year basis, wind speed and other things. And I look at the cost, I look at the steel required for 100 year and 50 year. I said, ये क्या होने वाला है इसमें? अगर मैंने 50 साल में किया तो क्या होगा? बोला आएगा तो छत उड़ जाएगा. तो बोला छत उड़ जाएगा, स्ट्रक्चर नहीं टूटेगा ना? बोला स्ट्रक्चर नहीं टूटेगा. तो बोला यार ये तो वार्निंग 2 दिन पहले मिलता है, मैं आदमी को निकाल दूंगा. एक काम कर, छत उड़ने दे. ठीक है, मेरे जेब में पैसा नहीं था भाई. तो वो उस टाइम पे छत उड़ने दिया, माल खराब नहीं होगा, नहीं इंश्योरेंस में मिलेगा. ओके, अब now I talk about that, give me the best quality, 1 in 100 years, nothing should happen, all global standards, because I'm in that situation today. So projects, everyone must understand. People talking about that money is not important, it is important. And at that point of time, if you do not make it viable, you have no progress. So, depending on situation, वो तीनों में से एक तो compromise होगा.
Can I,
Satyaki.
may I add one thing, just while agreeing, may I add something to what Malay said? In India, the problem is while trying to pursue all three together,
Yeah, you're good,
we
nothing.
more often than not don't pursue any of
Any
them.
of them.
Don't get
Very
any
true.
of that.
Very true. Very true.
No, I think between Vimal Bhai and Malay Bhai, they've answered you. But also, I think the other thing is common sense. You know, we end up compromising a lot of simple common sense things because everybody wants to be seen to be saying all these right things. And I think at the end of the day, simplicity and common sense go a long way. I think on many projects, if you get people in the room, as he said, stakeholders, if everybody is convinced that you've got to achieve an objective, and everybody is vested in achieving that objective, common sense more often than not wins. Because you will find a way. You will find a way of delivering it, you will find a way of delivering it to schedule, to budget, and yes, will some things get compromised somewhere in sort of in between? Of course, but life is all about choices, right? And you win some and you lose some, and you also have to figure out which battles you want to win and which battles you're willing to lose. And I think you've got to figure out the solution such that everybody is happy at the end of the day and different stakeholders are also satisfied. So I think that finally it's about common sense and the ability of stakeholders to come together and deliver that.
We'll take one last question from the student at the back. Feel free to connect with the speakers during the break time if you have any questions.
So my question is to Dr. Malay, and I wanted to ask him that why did you guys chose to make an SPM instead of offshore oil terminal jetty like they did in Jamnagar?
See, SPM and VLCCs are, when you are handling VLCC, you need certain depth of water. Now, when you need certain depth of water, depending on your port situation, that depth you may get it in 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. If I have to build a jetty, which has got an approach length of 10 kilometers going into the sea, it is going to be far more expensive than putting SPM. As simple as that. In those days, when we started with, we had a simple calculation that if I have to put an approach jetty or a trestle to go to 10 kilometers and put up a jetty over there, it is far more expensive than SPM. So decision was very different. Today, we have all sorts of facility whereby we can actually dredge the channel, we can come in and maintain because we are in the overall port environment. It's a very interesting question you asked from the previous question of time, cost, and quality. Situation, your choices, your technology, and whatever solutions that we are talking about is also quite circumstantial. In what situation, what decision you take. At that time, it was very expensive. Today, it has become cheaper in overall context because I can dredge, I have my own dredger. If I had done that over there, at that time, it was expensive, not today. So now we have taken the decision to put up jetty. Same way when you look at in Jamnagar, Marine, if you have your depth of water available next door, you will always anytime put up a jetty at that point of time. That situation was not available for Mundra at that time. Thank you.
We are now concluding the session. Feel free to connect with our speakers during the break. On behalf of CEPT and CRDF, we express our sincere gratitude to our esteemed speakers and offer these mementos as a symbol of our appreciation and respect. Thank you to all our speakers and
in private, in terms of public involvement, in terms of various permissions that are required, okay? So I will not go on listing on these things, but on field level, we have to deal with a multitude of organizations. Like, for example, if we have to tunnel under Western Railway tracks, where we do two times we cross the railway track, it is a prolonged process of getting permission and executing that, okay? So this is just one example, okay? We have one station just below the Western Express Highway, below the flyover, which is called Wakola flyover. So just below it, we are almost touching the piling area of the flyover, and there is a station, 280-meter long station, which is done with both mining method as well as the cut and cover method. So these are a lot of complexities that we have handled. And just to reiterate, the citizen participation, activist involvement, courts, and various forum is in itself as a big challenge, okay? So as I was telling, that this is a combination of two lines, line 3 and line 6, and line 6 merged into line 3, and then it has become an extended line 3. When the project initially submitted to Government of India, it was 7,800 crores. But once we combined these two lines and then made it a completely underground line, it has suddenly become a 24,000 crore project, okay? So when I was presenting to various stakeholders, including my commissioner, they said, have you counted the number of zeros when you say 24,000 crores? I said, yes, sir. But who would sanction this kind of numbers, okay? But this is the number that has actually tempted JICA to come forward to fund the project, because they have already funded projects in 3 other metropolitan cities, Chennai, Delhi, and Kolkata. They are keen to do. So they have, they wanted to have the pride of connecting metros in all the 4 metros of India. So they were also ready. We require this funding. Government of India is also inclined to accept this project for approval process. So this worked like that. So there are so many challenges that we faced even at the approval stage. We have 2 stations located in Kalbadevi Girgaon area. If you look into the census prior to 1990 and before that, these 2 census sections are the densest population census sections in entire India, having more than a lack of population per square kilometer. So it's a huge density, one of the oldest habitation of Mumbai, with Charl system of 125 to 150 square feet housing units where 4 to 5 people live. And these 2 stations were unimaginable. So everybody asked me, are you mad to propose a station like that? So I said, sir, we are planning for 27 stations. If these 2 stations don't happen, fine, no problem. We still have 25 stations to cater to the city, and we'll pass through underground tunnels. So this assurance I gave to 5 IAS officers, 3 metropolitan commissioners, and 2 managing directors of MMRC. But today we also have these 2 stations with all our efforts. Okay, so it's ambitious, imaginative, because that is the time when nobody thought of doing tunneling in a city like Mumbai. Mumbai had only water tunnels of diameter about 3 meters and deep, 70-meter deep tunnels. And this urban tunnel, metro, for the metro purposes at shallow depth of 18 to 20 meters is just not thought of by anybody. But then we pushed through with the help of all our consultants, planning team and all that. So it got through, okay? Of course, project funding, as I said, JICA was quite interested with the number. They are, this is the largest project, that the single project that they are funding in India by that time. And for us also it is good 30 years payback period with 10 years moratorium. And we went ahead with all the very, very favorable terms for us. The approval process was swift from Government of Maharashtra and also equally good from Government of India. And JICA approval process is also, we went out of the box to accept their terms and conditions, procurement guidelines, and all other things. So it went through. Of course, metro projects in India does not require environmental clearance as of that day, but a new condition was stipulated to us that we shall obtain CRZ clearance. That was a new condition that was put in. We agreed to that and proceeded. Okay, so if you see, this is one of the, of course, largest underground metro system in India, but it also connects to 2 airport terminals, 2 long-distance train terminals, 2 bus terminals, and a lot of suburban stations, a lot of employments. And this is one of the textbook kind of situation for any transportation planner to think about. So you can see the level of interchanges that we are able to achieve on this line is something very interesting. Okay. Going into the procurement state level, so once the project is approved, the first thing that we confronted was procurement. JICA has insisted that the procurement shall be largely international competitive bidding process using the JICA bidding, standard bidding documents. And I had some experience with World Bank projects, but none of our team, nobody was aware in the organization about this JICA procurement. We all have gone through, but they are largely FIDIC document with some minor modifications. So we accepted that and started dividing the project into various packages. In 2012, when we have set up the project qualifying criteria as project value to be completed, project value to be 2,500 crores is unimaginable. Even L&T didn't add that kind of single project that they have completed. So ultimately, the bidders all participated as joint ventures with some Chinese and Russian companies, and the tender process was completed. But it is just not a civil engineering project. A metro involves a lot of systems. The railway track, the rolling stock, the electrical systems, signal telecommunications, then the safety systems, public announcement systems, then operation control centers. So there are multiple projects, multiple packages within that. Okay, so we, going by the international competitive bidding process, we have stipulated certain things as per them, a prior project experience and all. But then taking the Indian experience, we have stipulated some new conditions. Those were for the first time being stipulated in India in 2012-13, because whatever I'm talking now is about 12 years back story. Okay, we have insisted that the contractor should have a liquidate capacity of liquid cash or access to funds to fund a project progress for a period of 2 months. This is something we had we have asked for, and then nobody could understand what it means. So we had to take the help of a lot of financing professionals, banking professionals, how to get a commitment from the contractor that he can fund a project for, because the bill payment process, because it's international funded, the payments will be made by JICA, then only the payments will go. So we have stipulated 2 years of liquidity capacity should be available, which comes to near about 180 crores or something like that for per contractor to access to have that kind of funds. Again, that was again another big challenge. Okay, then since, as I told, that these are lot of complex packages of systems, track, civil works, then this thing. So we had set out various milestones, because if the track is to be laid, tunnel has to be completed to certain level. If a overhead traction system is to be done, and before it is electrified, the tunnel has to be completely dry and it has to be evacuated. When a platform screen doors are to be installed, so there should not be anything else happening around, because that's the last thing that is to be fitted. So we had set out these hundreds of milestones and incorporated in the contract documents how each contractor will meet those milestones, and how the major responsibility of hosting all other system contractors is kept on the civil contractor, because he has to provide power, because it's 20 meters below the work is going on. And every contractor cannot have a power supply. Every contractor cannot have various other things. So safety norms. So the overall safety, overall hosting of all the multiple contractors is made with the main civil contractors. He has to host them, he has to match all the points, and ultimately project completion will be achieved jointly by all the contractors together. So this kind of milestone definition and then milestone-based payment and penalties were defined into the system. So that is one major thing that we have done. And then the JICA came up with this thing, because the first time this kind of tunneling happening. So if there are any unexpected ground conditions, sorry for the typo there. So unexpected ground conditions was one of the major things. Suppose you are tunneling through and suddenly you encounter an aquifer or something else. So what will happen? So JICA, as per the international procurement guideline, they said that, no, you have to pay a lot of variation, you have to pay this, that. So we said that, as Malay was telling in the previous presentation, we took our hard stand that except extension of time, we will not grant anything. So this has stopped the project bid document finalization for almost 2 months. Similarly, a dispute resolution board and arbitration related conditions, that is also getting well defined under a contract in 2012-13, also took 2 months to. So we had to do a lot of iterations, make them understand we accept certain things, they accept certain. So we could arrive at a middle ground, and then these conditions were accepted, and these were accepted by the bidders also. And finally, we have the contractors. You can see these are the so many contracts that we have awarded, almost about 41 contracts. And these contracts are spanning from 7 years to 12 years, okay? So the contract conditions have to be, what I say, they should remain relevant throughout the contract period, irrespective of change of market situations, change of people who are leading the project. So these conditions are all stipulated. I am proud to say that all the contract documents are relevant even as today, as they were relevant in 2012 also. So of course there are, all contracts will end up having some disputes and claims, except that the project is successfully completed by these 14 odd through contracts. Most of them have met 95 to 98% of the milestones. There are some penalties levied based on that, but some of them have been refunded, because once you fail on one milestone, you are put penalty. If you have met the successive milestone on time, then you are refunded. So this kind of provisions are there. So we have done that part of it, and then we achieved that, okay? So to our surprise, the project was approved in July 2013, and we were rolling out our project, and December 2013, the new Land Acquisition Act sets in. And nobody knew what it is, because all the revenue officers in government of Maharashtra just said that, no, your project is set away for another 3 years, because first people have to understand the act, then we have to have the necessary procedure set out, then the compensation decision, then the RAP to be prepared, so many things. And the act is presented very simplistically on a PowerPoint, but when you go through that, there are a lot of repercussions that are coming, okay? So, which is new to revenue officers, because which is classically the land acquisition is done by them. So we, fortunately, we had our MD, we as a think tank, we thought over that, so how to surmount this situation. Obviously, it is very clear the land acquisition cost is going to go 3 to 4 times as against expected 500 crores. We have gone an out-of-box solution, and it is for the first time that it is done. We have set out a compensation committee, which is headed by a retired IAS officer of very high repute. Under him, I was also one of the members, but we have drafted other 5-6 members. And we have followed a very systematic process. The best part of the new Land Acquisition Act is it gives the market potential of the land. That is the greatest saver of this, all the infrastructure projects after 2013. So the landowner is confident or is happy to get the right market price, including all his losses that he may lose because he may be having just 500 square meters, and that would have fetched a lot of money if he is remaining in the infrastructure surrounding area, but by losing it, he is also compensated adequately. So we did some prior consultation process, negotiations, and then we made the people ready. So we deviated slightly from the land acquisition, classical land acquisition process, and what is stipulated under the new Land Acquisition Act. So we stuck to the ultimate point. What it is ultimate is to provide the compensation as expected under the Land Acquisition Act. So we did that. Bombay lands have a lot of complications in terms of ownership. We had to do a lot of other things to ensure the right kind of owner. In the subsequent slides, I will explain. We have dealt with 75 land owners for a 2.5 hectare land. Not a single case went to dispute. And we have successfully taken over all the lands, and the project is complete. Apart from that, rehabilitation and resettlement is also another challenge that we have faced. But Mumbai is quite experienced with R&R policy, because we have already executed 2 World Bank projects where rehabilitation is mandatory. So we have done. But the new thing that we encountered in this was the Kalbadevi Girgaon, as I told, that the densest populated area where we had to rehabilitate near about 734 families and businesses from the protected tenants. These are all protected under the Rent Control Act, and the landowners are waiting for the buildings to collapse. So it's a very, very complex situation. So we wanted to get some developers to take over those properties and then give us the free land. But then the Honorable Chief Minister at that point of time took a very bold decision that at whatever may be the cost, it will be executed by MMRC. So today we are building those buildings. So as I said that 73 hectares of government land and 2.56 hectares of private land was acquired. We have used MRTP Act provisions. Then we followed various steps. The ex gratia, the compensation was quite attractive. Apart from that, Government of Maharashtra has given a 0.25 factor above if the land acquisition is accepted under negotiation process and fast tracking it. So that has made 2.5 times the market value. Very, very attractive for the landowners, and then we could acquire all the lands. So land R&R policy was already existing, well tested. So there was not much problem about 2,125 slum PAPs. But the in situ rehabilitation has really taken a long, long time. We are still constructing these buildings. These are the 3 buildings. One will be a 21-storied, another will be a 37-storied building, the tallest will be 40G plus 48-storied building. This would be the tallest rehabilitation building built by any government entity anywhere in India. So that we are doing it. Again, all the 3 buildings are integrated with underground metro stations. This is another complexity. The reason for delay is because till the metro works are completed, we could not start most of these building works. So these are done. Apart from that, the implementation challenges, so this is land acquisition. Implementation challenges as usual, the environmental tree cutting, then the removal and transplantation and compensatory plantation. There are survival related challenges. Okay, so we deployed various combination of these methods. We have done the tree plantation in forest area. We have done some microforest, Miyawaki method tree plantation. We did other private lands. We have gone to citizens to accept trees and then give a commitment to maintain them with financial support from us. So we are able to do that. So other challenge that, as I said, that we have near about 25 court cases we fought. 5 of them gave stay orders, but rest of the things we could sail through. But all the court cases we won, including the array tree case. Also, the Supreme Court has given a judgment in favor of us. So these were fought at NGT, these were fought at High Court, Supreme Court, so we could complete. Then Heritage Zone, the alignment is passing through 3 World Heritage precincts, which are declared long time back, but we complied to all heritage requirements and then completed the project. Then there are challenges about community structures and then religious structures. The Parsi Temple Trust has gone to the court. We, of course, won the court case, but also complied to all the requirements that the Parsi community has asked. So they had a very sacred fire temple very close to the metro. So there's a group of people objected to that, though Parsi community by and large is a very, very forward thinking. But once it came to a religious challenge, so it started with one person, the entire community stood with him. But we complied to that, okay. Lastly, I would say that stakeholder management was one of the biggest thing that we did. I should say right from 2013 even now, our response to stakeholders, whoever is approaching us with any query, any objection, it remains standard. So we, fortunately, I was available as a continuing feature of the company, but we have set the methods to process any public representation, any public objection, any individual objection that's come. So it would go through the process of consultative process. It would be, we will be very, very positive to hear their problems and then address them. So though there are intermittent problems, but at the end, everybody came and claimed that it is their success, it is as well as MMRC's success in achieving this plan. So I have listed out a lot of challenges that we faced. These are all engineering challenges, what I mean to say. Geological conditions, then they are very close to sea coast, under the Mithi River, under the dilapidated buildings. All of them have been done with very detailed precision engineering, safety norms, and so obviously, as Malay Bhai was telling, that in quality, time, and the other factors, so you will be able to only get 1 or 2 of them. So here we have lost, though we planned the project to be completed in 6.5, 7 years, we took 3 years more, of course, thanks to COVID in between. But we have achieved quality, we have achieved safety. I can proudly say, when we did these 33 kilometers of tunneling and 26 underground stations, not a single accident has happened involving outsiders. There were 1 or 2 incidents where construction workers, because of some mistakes, they were injured. But the city at large, the alignment passes through nearly 80% of reclaimed land, never had any kind of accident involving public. So that is one of the greatest thing that we achieved, and we are happy to mention that. We also have got platinum rating for almost IGBC Platinum rating for almost all our stations, all our establishments. Of course, there's a huge amount of steel, cement, concrete went into it, but still we met these requirements and then we got the platinum rating for all the projects. So just to say, so this is I should say the India's heritage mile passing through DN Road, which is Hutatma Chowk. You can see all these buildings are nearly 100 years old. Under this, we have built a 300 meters long station, and total length we have 2 tunnels passing through. Okay, you can see the kind of temporary works that we had to do. Today you go there, the road is reinstated. You will never know that there was a tunneling that has happened underneath. This is the Kalbadevi Girgaon area, which I told that we could have sacrificed 2 stations. There is no space left between the buildings. The road width available was 8 to 12 meters, whereas the defined road line was 26 meters. So we have acquired lands, we built end-to-end the station, and the station is flowing below the buildings also. And this is one of the most challenging stations. Delhi had one Chowdi Bazar station, which is called New Austrian Tunneling Method. Mumbai Metro Line 3 has 7 such stations built in the period of 7 to 8 years. These are some of the water mains that we have supported, as large as 3-meter large water mains, which are supplying, which are like lifeline to Mumbai. These were supported, again, close to Charu's premises, Sahar Road Station. He is witness to that. When we did that, we had to do elaborate support system that the pipeline would not suffer any kind of damage. These are cast iron pipelines, which are again nearly 100 years old pipeline. They were protected and the work was done underneath them. We also had brick-lined arch drain sewer lines below Mumbai Central and below Girgaon station. Those were also restored through reconstruction method. You can see the pipelines that are being supported. These are the pipelines below, I think, Worli station. Mithi River crossing. Okay. The other challenges that we faced are ascertaining barrier-free access. Disabled access is one of the biggest things. We are all proud to be more than 50% of population in the age of 30. But what will happen 20 years from now? We are all going to be 50 plus years, and all of them also will have to take the public transport. So barrier-free access and disability access is one of the major things. So we try to do our best. Of course, there are a lot of work in progress, a lot of things we still have to amend and do. So we did that. Then, of course, multimodal integration, work in progress, testing, commissioning. So another thing I would like to mention is this. Again, metro is not like a flyover or a bridge that you built and the people are riding on that road. The operating system has to be set up. So we had, for the first time in India, had awarded an operating contract through an international competitive bidding. Of course, DMRC won the tender. It is a cost plus hybrid tender. So entire cost that is incurred will be paid with spares, supplies provided by MMRC as per the requirement. So this is another thing we did. Then, of course, we have gone through the COVID. We have been tested through social media and still being tested today. Then ultra activism is one thing that we have faced. So a few images. This is the Santa Cruz station, and the station that is below the flyover. I said this is the entry, and this is the New Austrian tunneling methods works that are completed at Marol Naka station, where we are crossing Metro Line 1. Then this is MIDC station. You can see platform and other underground works. Then this is a Terminal 1. Again, Charu's contribution is marvelous and immense. They have developed detailed designs for airport stations. These are some of the very high-end standards they have set. We agreed to that, though they gave 777. At the end of it, Who gained, who lost is a different matter. But it is a kind of world-class infrastructure we are able to offer to city and the people who are coming out of the airports, and they will see a country, a city that is meeting the world standards. Okay, this is Bandra Colony Station. Okay, this is an entrance very close to the heritage building of CSMT. Sorry, this is a BMC building. Okay, so then people started using it. You can see the kind of crowding that is happening at CSMT station. Long queues, overcrowded trains. Okay, so this is a happy scenario for any planner to reach. The disabled people are able to use the system successfully. So thank you very much. I'm here to answer any questions. I would encourage all of you to visit mmrcl.com website. There's a huge library of images. I should say in Dadar, you may not have imagined, we have done 2 TBMs retrieval. The breakthrough happened at the same location, just in front of Sena Bhavan, that is Shiv Sena office, which nobody imagined. That much land is there. Nobody imagined. So you have opened 2 TBMs in a span of 2 hours. We opened 2 TBMs. And then these kind of things have happened. Just to encapsulate what this project is, though it is one project for us as a planning and implementing agency, but if you see in relation to any other projects, these are 81 small projects. Because the tunnels between 2 stations is one project. You have to tunnel about 1.5 kilometers. 26 underground stations are on its own 26 projects. So if you count all of them, it's like almost about 80 odd projects that are delivered. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Your talk beautifully highlighted the challenges and the decision-making of this scale. It has definitely offered our future engineers a meaningful look into the realities of urban infrastructure. Our next speaker for the day is Mr. Charudatta Deshmukh, advisor for Adani Airports, presenting the development of National Airport. Sir, I would like to invite you on stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. At the outset, I would like to, of course, thank you for inviting me and NMIL for this conference and meeting. And the second thing, obviously, to meet friends after many years. One thing you must have noticed, perhaps, that one of the fallouts and observations that you can carry from these discussions is Brahma, myself, Malay Bhai, and Raghunath, all four of us, our careers have been intertwined for last 20 years. This is an inescapable fact of a major infrastructure project. You can never make such projects in isolation. It is impossible. And as he commented about our support to Metro, it is actually because we ourselves are creating a very big project. We know the problems. So what we try to do is to help them out so that in turn they can help us out. So, Ramana, you forgot to mention perhaps in the presentation, the first Metro 3 projects in terms of both tunneling as well as stations started in our airport. Because we offered them the land, you start the work here first. So both the TBMs were launched from T2. This is an observation, and this is there for all major projects, not only ours, but the same thing about Bangalore Airport and others, that we're all related one way or the other and come in contact with each other as we progress. On progress as well as complete the projects. Which way does it work? I'll take you through the story of Navi Mumbai International Airport in a brief way. And then finally, at the end of presentation, I'll show you what we have created, which we are going to implement. Part of it is already implemented and will get commissioned on 25th of December. It is already inaugurated by Honorable Prime Minister on 8th October, along coincidentally again with Metro 3. But our airport will get commissioned for operation from 25th of December. So this is regarding the location of this airport. I'm showing this slide because a lot of you, most of you are not from Mumbai, not familiar perhaps where this airport is located. So it is located in the center of Mumbai metropolitan region. A region is roughly around 6,200 square kilometers. While the current airport, Mumbai incidentally already has two airports. One is Juhu. We miss out on that. There's the first airport in Mumbai, which currently used only for limited fixed wing operations. And of course, Mumbai Airport, which is in the heart of Greater Mumbai. But the rest of Mumbai metropolitan region, which covers almost about 6,000 additional square kilometers, is not served in that sense. It is not in the proximity of Mumbai Airport. Of the major passenger catchment. And based on the demand for the packs in coming years, the second airport for Mumbai has been planned. So this will be the second airport, second multi-airport system in this country, first being in Mopa. So Mopa has two airports now, Dabolim and Mopa Airport. Sorry, Goa has two airports, Mopa and Dabolim. This would be the second, and of course, in Delhi, we'll have the third one. So the distance between the two airports, aerial distance is only 22 kilometers, which is actually a very big challenge, both for airspace management as well as planning of the airport. And its location is such, located geographically in the center means travel time to an airport for domestic flights, on an average based on global experiences, should never be more than 45 to 90 minutes if you're taking a domestic flight. And if you're taking an international flight, it could be between 60 to 120 minutes. Lesser than that is much better, but most of the time it is unachievable for the reason I'll explain briefly. But anything more than that, it becomes a tedious business for passengers because they are carrying luggage most of the times with family and friends. Therefore, this location is very vital. And this location was selected by AAI and SIDCO after going through vetting almost about 14 other sites. Then this location was selected. So at the macro level, the location was for this one reason, that proximity from various catchment areas was almost equidistant by different modes of travel. And the urban growth of Mumbai, as we know, has been in the past few decades moving upwards towards north as well as towards east. So this would be the driver, economic driver, which will propel urbanization into the hinterlands of Mumbai metropolitan region, connecting eventually Mumbai metropolitan region with Pune metropolitan region. Pune is only about 140 kilometers along from our airport. So that distance is very important. The other reason for its siting is very, very vital. For any second airport, it is necessary that the operations of the first airport are not compromised. Therefore, the site was selected and its significance, both in shape and orientation, is such that the approach path the aircraft that takes to land on the Mumbai airport's main runway 0927 is retained by having almost parallel two runways at the new airport. So aircrafts approaching all the three runways, one at Mumbai airport and two at Navi Mumbai airport, can all come in and fly out without any conflicts between them. Otherwise, the overall capacity of the airport system will come down. And that distance between the two is even lesser. It is only 14 kilometers in our case, in case of Mumbai. Therefore, planning the airspace has been a challenge. It took AI almost about 4 years to arrive at the procedures that the aircrafts have to take to land at each of these airports, because Navi Mumbai airport, unfortunately, is surrounded by several hills, and the biggest of them is Matheran Hill, which is due east in the approach path of this airport. So when the aircraft lands, as you're coming down at the degree of 3-degree angle, the pilots will not be able to visually see the runway, which is a precondition for them to take a decision to land or to have a missed approach. Therefore, for the first time in India, based on our insistence, 3 radars have been placed for this airport, and 2 of them are outside the airport, not inside. So one of them is sitting on top of Matheran Hill, one is in the island outside in the Panvel Creek, third one is inside the airport. So 3 eyes for the airports, or the aircrafts to be guided onto the, and this has all been done to enhance the capacity of this airport. CIDCO originally thought that this airport will have a capacity of 60 million passengers per annum. We have planned it for 90 million. So we have enhanced the capacity by 50%, thereby basically avoiding the need of third airport for Mumbai immediately and saving huge amount of money, both on land acquisition for the third airport immediately, as well as its construction. What it implies is we have to enhance the capacity of this airspace. And for that, initially AI people were very hesitant whether it can be done or not. Based on our own studies, we explained and illustrated to them, New York is doing, combined, there are 3 major international airports apart from the 7 smaller airports. They are managing 3,500 flights per day in that airspace. London is doing 3,000 flights in their airspace. Mumbai airport today is doing maximum it has done is 1,100. And we will be doing 1,600. So around 2,500 flights in a day should certainly be manageable if we have parallel approaches here and they have conflicting approaches. These are almost non-parallel. In London, they are parallel, but in our case, they are parallel. So this was another important reason why this airport had to be sited there, because the next slide, which I'll show you, shows that this site was meant for anything else in life except an airport. After this one, I'll show you. The impact of an airport on a city, unlike any other infrastructure project, is very, very significant. And it is so silent, you don't notice it until after 5 years, 6 years. In case of Mumbai, most of you who are familiar with urban growth and the trends it takes and factors that shape that growth are aware that Mumbai city in the 60s and 70s was limited till Mahim Creek. Mahim Creek was still alive, there was no BKC. That was the reason why Juhu Airport was planned where it is. That is the reason why CSI was planned outside the city, so it doesn't influence negatively impact urban growth. But these 2 airports had such a pull of employment and visitors daily, and the businesses that airport generates, the city started growing northwards. It is no accident that Mr. Bachchan lives very close to Juhu Airport. Do you think it is an accident? No. And television industry, film industry is centralized. Hospitality is centralized, retail is centralized. Within a travel time of 30 minutes from this airport, Mumbai airport, is it an accident? No. Because you see the same thing pattern elsewhere in the world. So this direction of urban growth, you will see that it will change. Sorry, what happened to this? Site went wrong? Yeah. As the focus, it will shift towards east. One major piece of infrastructure, again, which our colleagues from MRD have achieved, is Atal Setu. That highway has opened up entire South Mumbai And now the urban growth of Mumbai will be far more decentralized, and more importantly, it will be far more rapid. Within the next 5 years, you'll find maximum amount of new businesses emerging in these corridors between Mumbai and Pune. And airport operations, its development, its investment impacts a city, obviously radially, largely. And it is always, we count it in terms of travel time, not in terms of kilometers, but because the mode is important. So anything between 30 to 60 minutes from the airport has serious impact in the sense that the land uses will get transformed, type of population that you have will change, land values will change, and so on and so forth. And then it recedes as we move towards additional 120 minutes from the airport. So these zones are very, very important for we as overall urban planners and city planners to look at, because we not only have to create infrastructure in these, for the airport, but in the entire surrounding. And since our catchment areas are spread all over the city, it is very essential for an airport to sustain itself, particularly an airport of this magnitude and this size, to bring in people every day to the airport and ensure that they can return home safely and conveniently. Therefore, an elaborate transportation multimodal master plan we have prepared. And I'm proud to say, and very happy to say, after working with friends like Ramna and others in CIDCO, in MMRDA, even MCGM, MSRDC, we have planned Navi Mumbai to be the first truly multimodal airport in this country. There is no mode of transport that we have overlooked. Starting first with, obviously, expressways and highways. We have 6 expressways and highways connected directly to the airport. How? I'll show you. We have 3 coastal roads connected to the airport. First time in this country. We have, this airport is connected by 6 metro lines, not 1 or 2. 2 coming from Mumbai, 2 from Navi Mumbai, and 2 from Naina. That is 2 from west, 2 from north, and 2 from east. We have 3 airport metro stations within the airport itself, as we did in case of Mumbai Airport. We have 2 suburban railway line connections planned. We also have 1 bullet train station. The first bullet train, as you have, there's a speaker after this, that is Ahmedabad to Mumbai, or rather Mumbai to Ahmedabad. The second bullet train is from Mumbai to Hyderabad. That line, we planned with HSRL team to have underground on the eastern edge of the airport underground here. So that is planned to be implemented 2032. And finally, for the first time, water taxis. So we have a water terminal planned right on the periphery of the airport. So passengers as well as cargo, employees, staff, visitors coming to the airport can use any of these modes. And all of these are to be implemented in next 10 years. We're not talking about 25 years now, because this airport will also get saturated in 15 years' time. So this is what I meant. This site was meant for anything except an airport. So this dotted line in yellow color is 1160 hectares of earmarked airport site. I still recall first time when we went there. Of course, I stay pretty close to this airport site in any case. But when we went there, and with co-bidders from Europe and everybody, they were stunned. They were asking CIDCO people, where is the site? And they're looking in the other direction. CIDCO chap said, this is the site. So the simple reason, the site had right in the middle of it, 4-kilometer long and 100-meter high hill. Then the river, Ulve, crossing right through the middle, getting into Panvel Creek. 9 villages, almost 14,000 trees. The villagers were waiting for us over there, because till then the RRR thing, R&R, policy had not been finalized with the government. Then we had 2 transmission lines. This was MSRTCL, and that is Tata Power Line. Extra high voltage transmission lines. You can't even touch them. You are not supposed to legally stand under them. That's the law. This was the background on which we had to build the airport. The concession agreement said you have to build it in 41 months on this site. We started in 2017 October, we got the letter officially saying, you guys come, start building it. Then COVID happened. So, so for us, cumulatively, counting the years in the COVID, it has taken us about 7 years to reach from here to what you will see in the next slide. In order to achieve that, several people, not only just us, have played a significant role. And what we had to do was to cut this hill. And one thing I forget, the entire dark area that you see in the northern part is low-lying. So in monsoon, the whole, and high tide, the whole, half the site would get flooded. Plus, we had a big surprise for us. We had marine clay underneath it. Depth varying from 1 meter to 6 meters. You build anything on top of it, it will sink. Then we studied episodes that have happened in Suvarnabhumi Airport, Brisbane. And then we flipped the entire plan. And we decided to build the first phase in the southern half, not what CIDCO was saying to build it in northern half. CIDCO was insisting for us to build in northern half because lesser number of villages were there for them to rehabilitate and they would get additional time. But we said the risk is so high that if we build it in the northern half, the whole goddamn thing is going to settle down. And we're not going to do that. So finally they agreed with us. It increased the amount of work, days and hours, but now we can have a sound sleep. Nobody's thinking anymore because we have cut this hill and filled half the entire site with this rock, basalt rock, very good rock. We had to cumulatively fill almost about 60 million cubic meters of rock on the airport site. Then, as I was mentioned, we diverted this river, which on the southern edge was only 30 meters. Now this diverted river channel, Always Coast Channel, is 120 meters at this end and 200 meters at that end. So we have virtually the capacity of that, we have tripled. These high tension voltage lines have now been rerouted underground around the airport. 9 villages, almost about 2,800 families, have been rehabilitated successfully. They have been offered. The entire credit goes to Government of Maharashtra and CIDCO. Best R&R package available in the country. And one of the most interesting things a lot of people don't know about, is not publicized much. I don't know why. Maybe we should put it on the site, our website. All the people who have been rehabilitated, each family is stakeholder in this airport. They own 1 share in NMI, this company. Secondly, one of the conditions was, this site development cost originally was 3,400 crores, estimated by CIDCO. Now it has reached 3,600 crores. 40% of this work had to be done by the locals. 40% of 3,600 work, 3,600 crores is close to about 2,000 crores. And that almost entire site development work has been done, not 40%. In excess of 75% has been done by the locals. That is unprecedented in this country. And since this was a site condition, most of our planning was influenced by this, time, and the cost requirement. We had to blast the hill, this hill, while these villagers were residing there. So we actually had to, because they won't move till they get the money. And we couldn't wait till they moved out. So we worked out formulas with them, keeping the safety norms in place, taking additional precaution to start blasting on the areas, at least which are 405 meters away from them. Because if we were to wait till the last house is moved, in fact, the last house moved in 2020, as late as 2022, this project would have never been completed till now. So this was the first village which was relocated. Then these went, lastly these went. But the blasting, and we intentionally planned, as you will see in the next slide, the major part of our infrastructure, most important one, terminal. Terminal is the most expensive of airports, any of the airport structures, right in the footprint of that hill, so that there is no chance of it sinking by even 1 centimeter. That again increased our work, because we had to dig a hole in the hill. Just imagine the hill standing like this, you dig a rectangular hole straight down, 100 meters, like making a well, to create the foundation of that terminal at that level, 0 level. And we did that. because that was the safest way to do it. But we had to stop the work on the terminal every time we did blasting. We had to take the workers in because the rocks would fly out a great distance because they were coming from a height of 50 meters, 40 meters as the hill receded gradually after its blasting. This is Navi Mumbai International Airport. This is its setting. So we have two runways, south runway and north runway. The hill I am saying was started from here, went up to right up to that point. And therefore this channel had to be taken through that hill. The hill had to be cut for the runway, the channel. So that hill now has gone. So you don't see it today. So we have planned this. This is the Atal Setu. So this is our Mumbai connection. From there, a new coastal road will be completed in March. It's already under implementation. Takes you straight inside the terminal. So signal-free drive from South Mumbai to any of our terminals within a travel time of 30 minutes. So I told you about 60 because I'm giving that additional time for people to reach that other end of this Atal Setu in Mumbai from their respective places because that area is still busy and crowded. So we have planned 2 runways, all connected by midfield taxiways, and we have another 4th terminal on the eastern side. All of them will be built in phases. And then the whole intention of ours, when we enhance the capacity of an airport, it essentially entails 4 different capacities to be enhanced concurrently. One is the runway capacity, terminal capacity, apron capacity, and landside capacity. Raghunath Satyaki presented about Bangalore. I worked on Bangalore from 2019 till 2017. Biggest challenge over there was another lesson that we have pulled in all our lessons, me and our whole team, that we have worked on 7, 8 airports, including the one in Ahmedabad. This airport we have planned with 7 entrances, not 1 or 2, 7. Because to bring in 9 crores people in a year actually means bringing 5 lakh people every day. 5 lakh people coming into such a small area and going back is not an easy task. To avoid that, so we have 2 major entrances, 9 lane plus 9 lane coming from this side and same from eastern side. In addition to that, the entire hospitality area that you see, they have separate 2 entrances. Nobody has to use this to get in. And then further from north side, we have VIP terminal as well as air side. We have given additional connections to that so that there is no saturation of vehicular landside traffic any point of time to enhance the capacity of landside. For the apron, and I'm very again happy to say, at one point of time, 350 aircrafts can be parked in this airport at one time. That is what we have been able to achieve on a small site area of 1160 hectares. Just for a comparison, in case of Mumbai, you cannot have more than 150. So that is the scale at which. And terminal capacity, so we have 4 terminals, 3 of them are 20 million, and the one in the center, terminal 2, which we'll start constructing next year, is additional 30 million. That makes it 90 million capacity. Cargo capacity we have planned for 3.25 million metric tons. It is 3 times the capacity of current cargo terminal at Mumbai. General aviation we have planned, as I'll show you, the biggest general aviation facility in this country. At a time, 94 private jets can stand, and those 2 big sizes, Code C as we call them. This is the first phase that we are completing now and inaugurating with 1 terminal, southern runway, main access road, all the stakeholder facilities, and interim ATC tower. This is we are going to commission by 20th. And our cargo, and we have planned in such a way that all the passenger-related facilities have kept on the western side and non-packs on the eastern side, except for the 4th terminal in the last phase. So this achieves segregation of cargo and non-packs traffic from the passenger traffic for almost about next 12 to 15 years, which is a big problem in Bangalore as well as in Mumbai and all other airports where cargo trucks as well as packs are going on the same way. In the peak hour particularly becomes a big problem. This is in the final phase. And our final phase, we will complete our development final phase by 2036. It is only about 11 years from now. because the traffic is going to increase in MMR, projected to increase so fast that we will reach our capacity of 90 million by 2042. So we want to create that infrastructure in advance, at least 4 to 5 years in advance before it is required by the people. And what will the final phase have, apart from 90 million passengers and 3.2 million tons of cargo terminal capacity, multimodal aviation hub, including the water terminal and the bullet train. Sustainability has been a very important issue for us in all the airports that we have planned. And here we took it at different level. Somebody in the morning asked Raghunath regarding the carbon credits for an airport. They are of three kinds. One is the credits that you get or you don't get for the operations, airport operations within your premises, for the emissions that you generate or you don't generate. Second is those which are created by users in trying to reach the airport from their house. Therefore, I insist on people using metro and bullet train and water transport to reach us. That is the reason why 6 metro lines. So they don't use cars or minimum number of cars. And third is emissions caused by the aircrafts which fly out. And that is the maximum. So what we did was, in each of the three areas, first, as I said, on the land side by people, cargo and truck traffic, passenger traffic reaching the airport, we have discouraged that in long term by having metro plus EV vehicles. Within the airport, we have cut down on emissions by changing the way in which HVAC systems and all our systems are operating, cutting down on the power consumption, and secondly, generating 39 megawatts of power ourselves. But most important thing that we have done, and this has not been done so far anywhere in India, we are the first airport to store and provide sustainable aviation fuel to all aircrafts in this country. SAF, as it is called, it is a mixture of fossil fuel, that is kerosene basically, filtered kerosene, with biofuels. That reduces carbon emissions from the aircraft by almost about 25 to 30%. Some claim it goes up to 50%, I don't know. But let's say even if it's 30% is humongous for the number of flights that we're going to have. Now this, apart from the obvious ones, storage of, harvesting of water, we have several ponds created, and solar power generation, use of EVs, all vehicles on land side, air side are EVs. We will be able to achieve our goal of being the most sustainable airport, not only in this country, but compete in this regard with any best airport in the world. And we have done that benchmark and seen what others have done. Next is, of course, digital art. In T2, you have seen our efforts towards presenting the national and local art in physical form. Here we took a different step, that we go ahead and present in digital form. Some lessons that we have learned is very difficult to maintain. Second is very difficult to change. And third, the future belongs to the younger generation. Maybe they will have very different ideas to what they want to see in terms of art. So why fossilize everything into that terminal by fixing everything on the wall? So we've taken a decision. So now when you come and see, perhaps you must have seen some glimpses of it on television during PM's inauguration, but that is our step towards that. And engaging with the local community, local artisans. They are the ones who you will see on the digital screens. And finally, the new business opportunities, which again I'm mentioning that it has a major impact, but just how big it is very significant. I'll skip on these numbers because I've already briefly explained. But these are the key features which, although I've mentioned to you briefly, I again like to emphasize. We are the most efficiently planned airport, and I say this with a lot of pride. On 1160 hectares of site area, which amounts to 2,860 acres, nowhere in the world has somebody planned 90 million capacity airport. Heathrow comes closest, it is 3,300 acres, and they are doing 80 million. Maybe they'll do 90 million, but they are 500 acres more than us. And that too, in addition to 90 million, we have 3.2 million metric tons of cargo as well. And all this has been possible because we have infused this airport with the latest systems and technologies which are going to be expensive in terms of our capex. But if you look at the long term, it makes the airport commercially as well as environmentally sustainable, which is a distant future. multimodal transportation hub I mentioned, the green airport I mentioned, this is the general aviation hub that we are creating. Now, this one initiative of making it a general aviation hub with 94 aircrafts will unleash a business back towards to whole its back chain, right from servicing the aircrafts to new additional pilots they require, the crew that they require, servicing spare parts, with Mumbai and Pune being the automotive sector, automotive capitals or core areas in this country. I foresee a distinct opportunity for this entire business community to contribute towards this. And finally, this is the first airport in this country to have extensive, firstly, to have APM system, which you must have experienced airports world over, to take you from the main processing terminal to any of the satellite terminals. So all our 4 terminals are connected, interconnected by underground APM, 4 underground APM stations, plus on land side, you can come out of the terminal and go to any part of the airport by another second elevated APM system. So you don't have to walk at all. Another effort to reduce the carbon footprint, no need for you taking a car in near future. And finally, I said we have 4 terminals intentionally so that we don't overspend on terminals at any point of time. And we can build each successive terminal in relation to traffic that is required, traffic that is coming to us in those periods in future. But having said that, interconnection between the terminals is very essential for operational efficiency. So we have physically integrated them as well as through APM system, as I just mentioned. Oh, sorry. Now that was all functions, how airport works. But this is what it will offer. Opportunities and prospects for all of us, everybody sitting here, in ways which are very different. And several people who are not in this gathering today. 5,000 are only, 50,000 only daily packs in phase 1 till 2028-29. Additionally, 25,000, so almost about 90,000 people will be coming, footfalls we have every day, which releases so much of business, right from a taxi driver to a restaurant. We'll need not less than 100 restaurants at this airport. The direct employment is in the tune of 20 to 25,000, direct. The direct and indirect. Induced employment is 3 times, 75,000. This is all in the phase 1. And our project cost, I've written there 19,600. Now it is actually 20,400 in a localized area of only 10 square kilometers. By final phase, we'll have 2 lakh passengers coming in every day, 1 lakh daily visitors, employment of nearly 1 lakh, induced employment 3 times. This actually creates a city by itself. Because the economic force of this is so huge that so many people are not even available today in Maharashtra, Mumbai, so they'll all be coming from outside. And the need to prepare the next generation for receiving the benefits out of these projects and taking it forward. An investment of 1 lakh crore on an area of 10 square kilometers means what? It is going to burst with benefits if we are ready to, if we are prepared and well prepared to absorb and receive it. This is our problem, collective one. Airport sector today has on-table investment of 50,000 crores. We have over 300 architecture colleges and engineering colleges, but we don't have a single certified course in airport planning, design, operation, construction management, which is specific to airport-related infrastructure, including our association Metro. I just said we have 6 metro lines. So I have a lot of works in Metro, in airport, the water terminal. So people that come to us, who have been working with us, are the only pool that we actually can depend on. But how far can we take this alone? And my question to all of you, and has been to myself, and I have been an academician for 13 years prior to getting into this. Why can't we do this to them? When they're looking for opportunities of work and job, meaningful challenges, this is sitting on the table. They don't have to run around and hunt for projects when these mega projects are standing there, staring at the face. And how much time, its implications are very serious. Not only their employment, next slide will show you, it's cascading effect. We today import close to about 35% of airport products. I'm underquoting it. It might be excess of 45%. But let's say 25, 35%. All products and their cumulative cost is not 35%, is 70%. Now we are sending aircrafts to moon, spacecraft to moon, and we can't manufacture ladders, nuts, bridges, wash basin taps, lighting. All lighting is important. Why? They can't supply, let's say if I want yellow color, then I need 5,000 yellow color. बोले नहीं साहब 500 लाल ले लो आप ये कर लो. No, that is a fact. One thing that we did, and intentionally, and a lot of credit to our procurement team, and Malabai leads that, and my own design team, we decided the flooring, कुछ भी हो जाए, flooring तो हिंदुस्तानी रहेगा इस बार. T2 flooring, you perhaps don't know, the grant has come from Brazil. And worst thing, it was treated in Italy, and then brought to us, and then we fixed it here. This time we decided we'll have granite and Indian. So 5 of our teammates had to get parked in Tamil Nadu. And we decided, okay, fine, color variation hoga, texture. So let us design that way. It is inevitable. Let's not dream that the whole goddamn airport floor doesn't have to, terminal floor doesn't have to look same. Why should it? You can't see it in one glance anyway. So with that, we have achieved one. But we have two. With this opportunity coming our way, and baggage handling system is something that you don't see. It is the single most expensive equipment in a passenger terminal, it is kept under the ground. It is in the basement, below the check-in hall. It costs 400 crores. Necessarily, these are imported. And it's no rocket science. Bags just move in circles and circles. That's it. We get it from China or Germany. There was a time in India where airport did not have so much of investment and so much of building activity, and therefore manufacturers in India were not very inclined to start producing products for airports. कि आप 10 साल में एक बार लोगे मेरा तो धंधा बढ़ जाएगा. They were right. But today we are buying in hundreds. Another 25 airports are being offloaded by AAI to private sector. Where are they going to get their bridges from? So we have, what I meant was those courses didn't stop there, that education. Body scanners, full bodies coming from Germany or UK, IT system, lighting system, radars. Now these are cascading down the same thing. So you already have mechanical engineering course, electrical engineering. How much time does it take to include one elective? कि भैया इसको देखो आप. These people, you can go and see in the body terminal कि क्या लगता है उनको, and go and backward, look into industry, where is the gap, and where we can step in. Because this is not for one day. This is for a lifetime now. With this, I present to you what we have planned.
Your insights added another rich layer to today's conversation on India's evolving infrastructure landscape. As we are running behind schedule, we would request the audience to take your questions directly to the speakers and as we break for lunch. And on behalf of SEPT and CRDF, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to the speakers. I would like to invite you on stage and present our sincere memento. Please, please. I would request the audience to please be seated for 2 minutes. We will now break for lunch and reconvene at 2:30 p.m.